Alrighty, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is October the 10th. Hopefully, you guys can hear me and see my screen. It does seem like the frames here are good. But yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Today is Friday. It's the end of the week. You can see the markets basically rallying back towards all-time highs here in the pre-market. Most dips have been bought up this week. Every single major dip has been bought up. Some of the semis continue to show strength here. We'll take a look at some of these charts and on the indices and of course on these tech names here in a second. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's get right into it. As always, I'm currently traveling, so we'll be back to our normal schedule next week. Key levels, before we get into the charts, let's take a look at some of the red folder news events that we have coming into today. Really, the thing that we have is consumer sentiment, so that's going to be at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and of course if you're in Eastern Standard Time, it's going to be at 10 a.m. So prelim consumer sentiment, it's not the major consumer sentiment, but it's the prelim. It's still going to affect the market. It is still a red folder news event here as well. And then of course next week we'll talk a little bit more about this, but next week we have FOMC. We have Fed Chair Powell speaking on Tuesday. Of course, we have PPI, we have CPI. You have core CPI on Wednesday of next week, and then of course on Thursday of core PPI, and then a bunch of other red folder news events here as well. So that's something that we have coming to market open at least today here on the overall market. As for the major indices, let's get right into the charts. So don't have too much time here, but let's get right into the charts and see exactly what we're looking for coming into today. So as you can see, if we go into the ES higher time frames, we're currently actually still inside of this range. So as you can see here, key levels that we have marked out really is your top of the range, and we have the bottom of the range marked out here for the ES. We end up actually gravitating towards the top of the range, trying to hold above it here on Wednesday, but ultimately on Thursday drop kind of towards the downside. So for ES, if we still want to see some upside, right, it's going to be the reclaim back above your 6,800 for this continued pushback towards the upside. As for the ES is a little bit weaker than the QQQ and the NQ. So the key levels that we have marked out here on the higher time frame, 6,800. If we ultimately reject off of this area, then we're just going to come right back inside of the middle of the range. Currently, right, higher lows are still being built, so we can expect that reclaim to occur, and we can expect it to continue back towards the upside. If we're looking at this on the 15-minute time frame, exact same thesis. What we have here is your high that we have created on the top of the range. If we do want to see some continuation, right, break above your 6,800 for this continued push towards the upside. If we ultimately break, if we're unable to break above your 6,800, we're just going to come right back down in towards the middle of the range, which is your 6,780. Okay, let's see this. Yeah, it seems like the frames are dropping here. I can't do anything about this, so it does seem like the stream could very much well be lagging, or it's going to be on pretty low quality, but not too much I can do here. Hopefully it is watchable. But let me keep going. As for the SPY chart, the key levels that I have coming into today, fairly similar thing, right? Let's go into the hourly chart. The key levels that we need to see reclaim and SPY get back above, it's going to be this 672. So similar thing here, we can just have this general area drawn out. We have multiple touches here, broke down yesterday. Now we need to see the reclaim back above your 672 if we want to see any sort of continued pushback towards the upside. So I have these levels drawn out, which is just basically our highs that we created here earlier into the week. So what we'd like to see, as I mentioned, if you want to see any sort of push higher, right, break back above your 672, hold above your 672 for this continued push towards the upside. If we reject off this area, then we're just going to come right back inside of the range to end off of the week. So that's the key levels that I have coming into today. Let's go on to, that's the key levels that I have for the ESN SPY. If you go onto the NQ chart, you can see the NQ is actually a little bit more bullish here, and I like this a lot better. So for the NQ, higher lows are being built. We're actually finally breaking above our key level, which is our 25,280. Right, multiple touches here on Monday and Tuesday. Now we're actually getting back above it here in the pre-market and holding this general area. So for the NQ, this one's a lot more bullish than the SPY here, and we can expect this to lead the markets back towards the upside. So we talked about this yesterday and the day before. I like the NQ and the QQQ kind of leading the market back towards the upside over the SPY, so that's primarily what we've been focusing on. As for the NQ, the levels that we have, higher lows, we have your previous day lows marked out. We also have your higher time frame key pivot level marked out as well, which is your 25,260. As long as you can maintain above your 25,260, I like to see this continue push back towards the upside. Other levels that I can have marked out here now as well is going to be your previous day highs. So it's going to be the break above your previous day highs for continuation, or the dip all the way back down in towards that 25,260 for a potential bounce play back towards the upside. As for some of the levels that we can have marked out, let me just mark out some of these and drag it over. So this is going to be my next level. It's basically your high that we created here on Thursday, and then we also have basically a very key pivot level here from Wednesday as well. We can see this a little bit better here on the QQQ chart, but this is the exact level here for the Qs. Levels that we have marked out 609, and of course we have now marked out your previous day highs along with your Wednesday's highs here as well. So currently we're trying to make a new all-time highs in the pre-market for the QQQ. Levels that I have coming into today, right, break above your previous day highs, maintain above your previous day highs for this continued push towards the upside. Another possible scenario, if we dip all the way back down in towards that 609, then we could be looking for the bounce off your 609 for this continued push back up and towards your 612 and above. So with the overall markets at all-time highs, right, similar game plan. We're just going to look for kind of major dips on the indices for a continuation towards the upside. Really, that's just kind of the game plan on most of these names moving forward. But this is what I have for the QQQ coming into today. Keep an eye out on your 609.50, as I mentioned, along with your previous day highs. Okay, let me go on to some of the tech names that I have coming into today here now. Let me grab some water as well. Let me see if everything's fine. Yeah, what's up everyone? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully the stream's manageable as well. As I mentioned, the frames are dropping, so as long as you can see somewhat of the levels and can see kind of my thesis and logic coming to today, it should be fine. But yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Okay, let's go on to the next, let's go on to some of these tech names. Okay, let's go into Tesla. So first things first, let's go on to Tesla. Really, this name has been consolidating all week. Ever since we had that big push towards the downside last week, we talked about this week, most likely gonna be inside the range, right? Momentum started slowing down here on the higher time frames, but for Tesla, this one's still fairly bullish. If you're looking at this on the hourly chart, you can see the hourly is continuing to make higher lows here. So for Tesla, I'd like to just see it maintain above your 430. If you can maintain above your 430, we start basing above this level, then we can see this push back up and towards your 448. The real reclaim is going to be back above your 448. Once we reclaim back above, that's going to look good for this continued push back towards the upside. But at least for intraday levels and what we have coming into today, really not too much on Tesla. The higher time frames, we have just this general area marked out 430. Currently, we can mark out a couple other levels here as well, right? Previous day highs, we can mark out your previous day lows. But currently, Tesla, not too much to talk about. If we can break above your previous day highs here and hold, potentially we can see a little bit of a mean reversion. You can see we have a couple touches here. If we can now maintain above, it's going to be this 436. Potentially we can see kind of this push back up and towards your, now it's going to be this Wednesday's highs and above. So we can keep an eye out on Tesla above your 430. If we break underneath your 430, then we're just going to come right back down in towards your 432 and below. So that's what I have for Tesla coming into today. Really not too much to talk about. But we'll talk about this a little bit more. We mentioned once the base is, we're just going to give it a little bit more room, and then eventually we're going to trade this back towards our all-time highs. But currently, we're just going to let it consolidate for a little bit more, and then eventually we're going to trade this back towards the upside. Let's go into Nvidia. Nvidia, this one was one of my top watches yesterday, along with AMD. We talked about this one, gap up. We had some news, bullish on the higher time frames, and we ended up having this nice opening drive play towards the upside. Really solid trade yesterday towards the highs. Now let's mark out some key levels. We can still mark out this general area. This is the level that we used yesterday to trade this towards the upside. And you can see now this is basically your previous day lows, 192. So I'm going to have this level marked out. I'm going to consider this basically your previous day lows where we have multiple touches, and then we can mark out your previous day highs, which is going to be this 195 key pivot point. So coming into today here for Nvidia, what I'd like to see is the reaction that we have off of your previous day highs or your previous day lows. So this is the key levels that we can have drawn out. If you want to see some upside, there's actually 3 scenarios that you could be looking for. Break above your previous day highs, continuation, number 1. Another scenario, dip all the way back down in towards that previous day lows for this pushback towards the upside. And then another possible scenario, let me just get rid of this. So scenario number 2, consolidation, kind of this push higher. And then scenario number 3, right, bounce off your previous day lows and then continue push back towards the upside. So 3 scenarios here on Nvidia coming into market open, right? Either the break above your previous day highs, kind of consolidate right off the bat since we're inside of the range and you have this opening range break towards the highs, or the dip all the way back down in towards your previous day lows. So either scenario, either 3 of these scenarios in my opinion look good. So you're just going to keep an eye out on the reaction that we have within kind of the first 10 to 15 minutes here on Nvidia. Preferably you like to see number 1 or 2, right? Break above your previous day highs right off the bat for continuation higher or consolidation, and then eventually you look for the trade up in towards your previous day high. So that's what we have for Nvidia coming into today. We can keep an eye out on this ticker for continuation. As for AMD, this one, key levels that we have marked out on AMD as well. Let me just get rid of all of this. Okay, so key levels coming to AMD coming into today. What we have marked out is just going to be this old news high. So in my opinion, this is going to be the best key level here on the higher time frames. 226 news candle high with earnings. This is going to eventually be my next best buying opportunity on AMD. Hopefully this sets up next week, but we can be looking for the longs off 226 earnings high. This one looks really good in my opinion if you can pull back. Fairly similar setup to something like Intel. If you actually just zoom out, Intel's actually gapping up here, but fairly similar setup to Intel here. It's going to come all the way back down in towards that news candle high with earnings, and then we could be looking for the break and retest off that level. So fairly similar setup here. I'm going to keep an eye out on AMD coming to next week. It's going to be the bounce off your 226. So keep an eye out on this one for next week. As for today, as for today, the key levels that we have marked out on AMD is going to be this 234, and we also have, right, we can mark out your previous day lows and of course your 226 here on the higher time frame. So personally, at least for today for AMD, if you want to see some upside, either the bounce off of your previous day lows, I'm not as interested just because we already had such a big push towards the upside. For a potential reclaim scenario, right above your 234 is in play for a push towards the highs. But as I mentioned for AMD, preferably now I'd either like to see one of 2 scenarios, right? Reclaim back above your 234 for this continued push towards the upside, or we just kind of consolidate today and then eventually next week we'll be looking for the bounce off of your 226. So those are the 2 scenarios that we have for AMD coming into today. Keep an eye out on your 234 for a potential reclaim. As for a few other tickers that we have coming into today, Apple kind of just consolidating in this general area, not too much to talk about after hitting our all-time highs. A couple names pulling back here, right, like Google, Amazon, and Meta actually are some of the only tickers that are pushing higher here. So for Amazon, as you can see, this one's starting to curl. I talked about this one here on the higher time frames, potentially starting to reverse here on the hourly chart, right? Higher lows are now, as you can see, being built. So for Amazon, what I would like to see is really now, at least on the hourly chart, kind of just higher lows be built and continue back towards a minimum, and now it's going to be this 228. So you can see a little bit of stuffs here at this 228. It's going to have to get above your 228 if you want to see any sort of continue push back towards the upside. So those are the levels that we can have marked out. Let me just mark out our 228. We can drag this over, go back onto the lower time frames here. So key levels coming into today, right? As I mentioned, we're going to either have the break above your 228. In this case, it's your previous day highs for continuation, or we're going to be looking for the dip down in towards your 226, and then we could be looking for this continued push back towards the upside. So that's what we have for Amazon. As for Meta, I do like Meta here as well. Higher time frames, you can see bounced on Monday right off for 695 key level support. Now you can see we're starting to curl here on Meta. Next key levels that I have is really the area that we broke down from 740 here. So for Meta coming into today, what I'd like to see is the reaction that we have off of your previous day high. So key levels that we can have marked out, 732. If we can maintain above now your previous day highs, we could be looking for this continued push back up in towards your 730, in towards your 740 and potentially above. So that's what I have here. Really not too much else to talk about. Netflix actually starting to curl back up here as well. Next levels that we do have is going to be your 1249 and then eventually your all-time highs that we do have marked out. So coming into market open, we do have red folder news, which is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My levels already set. We have your previous day highs along with your Wednesday's highs here on the Qs. That's going to be the major indice I'm keeping an eye out on. And of course, I'm going to keep an eye out on Nvidia. And we're also going to keep an eye out on AMD for a potential reclaim of this 234. And then for Tesla, we'll keep an eye out on your previous day highs, 236 coming into market open. Okay, let me go on to a few other tickers here. Now, if you guys do have any tickers, you guys can drop them in the chat. I'm going to grab some water here. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, of course, you guys can join in the description below. Okay. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. Let me go over some tickers here now as well. Let's first take a look at Palantir. I see a couple of you guys mentioning this one. So Palantir ended up having a really solid push. I'm going to have to redo all my levels, right? A bunch of these levels I have kind of messed up. I'm going to take a time over the weekend. I usually reset my levels every week. I didn't do it last week just because I was traveling, so my charts are fairly cluttered here. But basically what we have for Palantir is this push up in towards our all-time highs. We can be looking for the Palantir all-time highs break fairly soon here. If you can break above your 188 now, you can see a little bit of a flat top. We can see this push up in towards our all-time highs and above. So keep an eye out on Palantir. Now it's going to be the break above our key pivot high, which in this case, if I turn back on the drawings, let me actually just get rid of most of these. In this case, the key levels that we have on Palantir is just going to be this high that we've created. So we can draw this out, drag it over. This is a key level here where we have multiple touches. You can also draw this key level here as well, but this is primarily the level that I have marked out. It's our 186. We end up pushing up and towards that level yesterday, and of course earlier into the week here as well. And then you can see a couple touches from last week. So for Palantir, the key levels that I have marked out is your 186. I'm also going to have marked out here as well is your high that we created here on Wednesday. So coming into today, a couple of scenarios here for Palantir. Break above your 186, hold above that level for this continued push towards the upside. Another possible scenario, dip down in towards your 184, and then we could be looking for the higher low off your 184 for this continued push back towards the upside here as well. So Palantir, I do like this one. Based off the higher time frames, we'll see if we can eventually get that push up and towards our all-time highs and above. But this is the levels that I have for Palantir coming into market open. Keep an eye on your 184 along with your 186. As for AVGO, key levels that we have marked out on AVGO, really this 345, starting to curl up here as well. So for AVGO, you can see we have rejections off this level multiple times. Now if we can break above it, potentially the next level that we have here on the hourly chart is going to be all the way back up and towards our 356. So next level above your 345, 356. So keep an eye out on AVGO for a potential move back towards the upside. The levels I am going to have marked out, I'm actually just going to refine it just a little bit here now as well. It's going to be up and towards our Wednesday's highs along with our previous day highs. So this is kind of the general area I'd like to see hold here for AVGO. If we can maintain above your previous day highs, we can be looking for this pushback up and towards your 350 and above. So this is what I have here on AVGO coming into today. A few other tickers that you guys are mentioning. Let's take a look at Oracle here. So Oracle ended up having this nice push yesterday that I talked about. Reclaiming back above key levels, which was our 292. So you can see we have multiple touches here on Oracle, touch here, and then end up turning into resistance. So we mentioned if you can break above, potentially you can start having this nice pushback towards the upside. And then for Oracle, kind of rejected right off the bat, but once we're able to get above your 292, nice continuation higher, and now we are above your previous day highs here as well. So for Oracle, coming into today, key levels, previous day highs have marked out. I personally like to see it maintain above your previous day highs. If it maintains above your previous day highs, you could be looking for continuation above your 300 key psych for this move back up and towards the upside. So keep an eye out on Oracle coming to market open. I do like this one quite a bit, just based off of the higher time frames, and of course this one shaping up nicely now, finally starting to curl. We're above key psych levels, and we have clear shots back towards the upside. So keep an eye out on Oracle above your previous day highs coming into market open. As for Hood, not too much to talk about on this one, but this one is kind of right back up in towards our all-time highs key level. So for Hood, nice kind of continue push higher. Key levels that have marked out is our 150. You can see how many touches we have. We're kind of just defending this level. Much later into the session, we reclaimed that level, and now we had this nice continue push higher, and now what we have marked out is just your all-time high. So for Hood coming into market open, if you do want to see continuation above your previous day highs along with our all-time highs here, another possible scenario, dip all the way back down in towards that 150, and we see this continue push back towards the upside here as well. So that's what I have for Hood coming into market open. As for a few other tickers here, let's take a look at some of these. I'm just going to continue to look at some of these semiconductors. MU kind of consolidating here this week. For MU, key levels bounce either off that 191, or now it's going to be the break above your 196 for continuation. Let me take a look at Intel here, since this one is finally breaking outside this range. So for Intel, a nice base break above, another one base. Now we're breaking. Let's see if we can get that retest above your 38 for this continued pushback towards the upside. So this is what I have here for Intel. Breaking above your key level of resistance here in the pre-market, as long as you can now maintain above your 38 key psych level. I'd like to see kind of major dips be bought up for continuation higher, or now it's going to be the break above your pre-market highs for this pushback towards the highs here as well. So keep an eye out on Intel, a couple key levels, 38 along with our high that we have created here on Monday, and we can drag this over. So these are two levels that we have marked out. As for TSM, this one, similar thing to MU, really big pop, just kind of consolidating this general area now. What you'll keep an eye out for is the bounce off your 296, or now it's going to be the break above your 306 here on the higher time frame. So that's what I have coming to market open here for most of these tickers coming into today. CRWV looks nice to see a couple of people typing this one. Shaping up nicely here, higher lows are being built. CRWV, yeah, looks fairly good. Key levels that we have marked out on this name is now just going to be right this flat top that we finally broken out of. So couple key levels that we can have marked out. We can have this general area marked out, and then we can also have this level marked out here as well, which is our flat top. So as you can see here for CRWV, finally breaking above our 142. Nice kind of retest here in the pre-market. Next level is going to be your 150 here and above. So for CRWV, we basically dropped from earnings, and now you can see the next levels that we do have is going to be your 148 and of course their earnings high. So for CRWV, nice kind of push here in the pre-market. The levels that we're going to have to base it off of now is your pre-market levels along with their previous day highs. So if you can get that pullback down and towards that previous day highs, that will look solid for this continued push higher. Or now it's just going to be kind of that push right up and towards that 150 right off the bat for this continued push higher. So that's what we have for CRWV coming into today. As for SoFi, this one, as I mentioned, still looks very good. Now this one's building up a flat top here as well. Key levels that we have drawn out is this flat top break. Right, multiple touches here. What we like to see now for SoFi, break above your 28 hold for this continued push higher. What we don't want to see is the rejection, and then we end up coming right back towards the downside. We want to see the break above your 2880, hold above your 2880, and continue higher. Okay, let me go over a couple names, more names here, and then I'm most likely going to get ready for market open here now. But basically my game plan coming into today, what we have here is the Qs. As I mentioned, Qs, key levels that we have marked out is our previous day highs along with our Wednesday's highs. As for SPY, this one is not my favorite indice just because we're now in between the middle of the range. So we're going to primarily focus here on the Qs coming into market open off our 611.50. And then for my main watches coming to market open, we're going to keep an eye out on Tesla previous day highs. And of course, Nvidia is in the middle of the range, so I'm going to be a little bit more cautious on this one, but we're still going to keep an eye out for this 195 along with our 192. AMD key level that I have marked out is our 234. If you can break above that reclaim, that's going to look good for a potential push back towards the upside. And I have a couple other tickers that I like, Palantir above your 188 or the maintain above your 184. Oracle looks fairly good above your previous day high, so we'll keep an eye out on this ticker. AVGO, a couple of these setups forming fairly similar. They're breaking above your previous day highs here, so we'll keep an eye out on the previous day high retest. And then, right, some of the semis are still holding up. Hood looks good for a pushback up and towards your all-time highs. SoFi, you have this flat top break that's forming here. And then even CRWV looks fairly good for a pushback towards the upside, finally breaking outside of above your 142. You can keep an eye out on the retest or any sort of pullback for this continued pushback towards the upside. So that's what we have coming into today. I'm actually most likely just going to end up calling it here today. I went over most of the tickers and kind of my game plan coming to market open. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be back to the regular scheduled program next week where we can look at some tickers more in depth, but currently traveling, so we'll be back either on Monday. I think we're leaving on Monday, so I'll be back either on Monday or Tuesday. It's going to be back to normal. But yeah, that's about it for me. I'm going to call it a day here. I'm going to get ready for market open. If you guys did enjoy that, I appreciate if you guys drop a like. And of course, if you guys haven't joined the daily watch list, that one's in the description below. And then yeah, I'm going to call it a day here. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I hope you guys have a great weekend as well. All right, take care everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.